July 17, 2025, Intel Drop 66 new whistleblower confirms Obsidian. Good evening. How are you tonight?
I am well.
How much time do you think we have tonight to cover everything?
I have set aside enough time, hopefully.
All right, before we get to Epstein and everything Trump's been saying, we've been sitting on some intel. I'll let you explain.
Yes, 2 months ago our team was contacted by a whistleblower who provided compelling information. The information relates to Obsidian and essentially confirms further that Obsidian is being deployed outside of the fusion centers where it is being created.
Now, you ran all of this by our Obsidian whistleblowers. They looked at it. What did they think of this person?
They believe their information to be authentic.
Please give some background on this new whistleblower.
This individual works in a capacity within a banking organization. They have not been involved in the development of Obsidian at all, but now they believe they have been introduced to a back-end prototype of the software. They were introduced to it as a social credit and banking suite that they would begin using regularly in the year 2026. They were asked to familiarize themselves with it and how it worked, and they were given instructions on how they would use it.
How did they end up finding us?
They were curious about the term USDR used within the new software and conducted their own investigation. This individual has some understanding of privacy, technology, and how to remain anonymous. They knew further investigation into this was not allowed or authorized, so they were quite careful. Upon doing various online searches on USDR on a burner phone, they found some of our intel drops. They immediately recognized Obsidian as the app they were being introduced to. They contacted our team and provided their story.
Now, you've changed a few details to protect them, and we're not going to release everything they provided. Is that right?
That is correct. They are worried about their own safety since they reached out to us, so everything will be done to protect them. Anything we release, they have authorized for release.
They authorized the release of one photo. This is the backend they were given access to. Some things were blurred out. What can you tell us about the following image?
It looks quite similar to what the whistleblowers work with. I asked the whistleblowers if they had any information on prototypes being deployed, and they said they did. They said the backend they are working on will look and function similar once it is deployed to various banks and government agencies around the world. They believe this to be an authentic prototype of Obsidian.
What do you think AI link means? I noticed that right away.
It seems to pertain to the Starlink activation we have spoken of. Once activated, the Nano-Tech in our bodies will link us to the Cabal's AI in some way, and this is reflected in Obsidian.
There's a video we may post and a few other photos. Did you show those to our whistleblowers? And if so, what did the whistleblowers think of those?
I did. They found them to be compelling and consistent with what they work with. We may release those in the future because they show more functionality of the software, including an account page showing extensive personal data of the individual, social media records, social ratings and scores, and so on. All of the things we would expect to see in Obsidian. They were also able to take photos of a restricted accounts data page showing how oppressive the software is going to be. There are other photos of various sections. Unlike our whistleblowers who work under much more security, this person is in a banking environment and there is less security, so they were able to take more photos and videos.
Do they still have access to the software? I mean, are they still using it at work?
Yes, they do some training on it on a semi-weekly basis, but they cannot access it except during the training period. They cannot access it at will, in other words, only when it is activated by the bank's software. During that time, they follow on-screen tutorials and have a few hours of access to it.
Are they watched by a supervisor or cameras or anything?
No, they are allowed to use it in their office. It is activated remotely, and the training session is AI-guided. In fact, they said they have had very little face-to-face discussion about it with anyone in their department. It has all been handled via email, memos, and their in-house banking software. They did have to sign some additional security and disclosure agreements as well.
Is this new whistleblower willing to work with us any further and provide more information?
They have agreed to that, with the proviso that if they feel unsafe or they are taking too many risks, they will cease contact.
Why did they contact us, by the way? What compelled them?
They did for two reasons. First, they were surprised to find our information and see we had already exposed the project itself. Secondly, they disagreed with everything they knew about this software, which is more extensive than what I have disclosed here. They morally object to it.
Can we trust this person?
I believe so. I believe at worst, if they were working with the Cabal or if they were an agent, they could feed us false info. But so far, there is nothing at all to indicate they have done that. If I notice anything unusual, I will be mindful of that, because it is entirely possible agents could share with us the real Obsidian software, but then later feed us false information. Entirely possible. But I do not believe this person is an agent at this time.
I have a question. How many of these management types will end up working on the back end? Worldwide.
We believe it will be in a range of 10,000 to 20,000 people worldwide. Many of them will be common class, but with government or banking experience. Many of them will be existing bank workers, software developers, account managers. While AI will run Obsidian from a central hub, there is still a need for human interaction to work with and monitor accounts. Our whistleblower is a common class individual who did not have much familiarity with the Cabal, but I informed them that some of their upper management colleagues are sovereigns and Kabbalists, and to be extremely careful. They knew they were breaking secrecy agreements, but I do not believe they fully knew the danger or extent of what they were doing when they contacted us.
There's some more incredible information you haven't talked about here, information that's of life or death importance, in my opinion. Will we be able to disclose any of that?
Only to our team at some point, not publicly. Such would result in instant escalation.
The antidote for the Nano-Tech. There's new information about it. It's so interesting. I wish we could share it. Can we talk about it at all?
I can only say the information gives us better insight as to how it will be deployed and how it will work. The method used is probably more safe than the method we previously described. In fact, the method is so non-invasive, it is possible it could be replicated in some way to help non-sovereigns deactivate the Nano-Tech, but that will involve risks for us, and I do not know how we will do it at this time. That is all I can say.
Did our whistleblowers have the same information?
Not as detailed or specific about the antidote, no.
This sounds like a middle management type of person, a common class person, being told about a prototype of Obsidian, so why would they get information about the antidote? Just playing devil's advocate here.
A valid question. I do change some details to protect the identities of everyone involved. The information about the antidote may not have come from them. It may have come from another party involved or another whistleblower I am speaking with. I prefer to remain vague on this.
I see. Do you think this intel drop will be at risk of escalation or will draw more attention to us from the Cabal for posting this story in the photo?
Yes and no. Due to shadow banning and various censorship methods, our intel drops are being viewed less, and overall we are not considered a major threat at this time to the Cabal. They monitor us and occasionally send agents to disrupt us, but the escalation has not risen beyond that recently, but it certainly could at any time. As an aside, due to COVID vaccine deaths and eliminations related to a clandestine project disclosed in our last intel bulletin, there are, unfortunately, fewer quarantined class patriots online and alive today than there were a few years ago. We have lost some of our supporters, I believe. They are not on this earth any longer.
That's shocking, but I've wondered that. Things feel quieter, not just for the response and support we get, but just across a lot of alternative media channels I monitor. Less activity, less urgency. Very strange.
It is noticeable and disturbing. There has been a quiet purge. The nanodust is also affecting everyone, making people more passive.
I know. You almost didn't want to share this story at all, by the way. Why not, and what changed?
I did not believe it benefited us or our team to share it publicly. We are not reaching enough people for it to matter or change anything, so it only puts us at risk of escalation. What changed is the whistleblower insisted their story be told. They were impressed with the work we had done and wanted to provide additional confirmation of what the other whistleblowers had already done. They feel a sense of solidarity with our whistleblowers, so I honored that.
I get that. I'm really thankful to this person for their courage. Do you think the cabal is worried more people like this will come forward? People who are common class and who learn about Obsidian and oppose it?
No. If there are others who are morally opposed to it once they learn about it, their options are limited. The media will not touch the story. Gatekeepers in the alternative media will reject them. And if they do manage to go public, they will be immediately silenced or eliminated. I think the cabal expects some defectors, and it is even possible we may hear from more of them as we get closer to Obsidian, but not many, and the existing security agreements and NDAs will be enough to keep the vast majority quiet. They also have incentives and perks to remain quiet and work with Obsidian, which this whistleblower also told us about.
We talked a long time ago in an earlier intel drop about whistleblowers. You said real ones are either never heard from, heavily censored, or end up getting killed. We've seen some high-profile murders lately, such as the Boeing whistleblower. You'd think by now the public would wake the hell up that this isn't a game.
Real, true whistleblowers are handled harshly by the cabal, which is why I work so hard to protect them. Gatekeeping whistleblowers, on the other hand, are parroted all over the media, or receive a lot of attention in the alternative media. The UAP whistleblowers fall into this category. We checked on Luis Elizondo and found he is a Kabbalist, for example.
I don't want to digress too much here. I want to make sure we stay on topic. I just wanted to make the point that whistleblowers put their lives on the line to give us, or anyone, information, and I respect them for it.
The censorship we have experienced speaks for itself. That alone greatly lends to the credibility of our whistleblowers. If our whistleblowers were not telling the truth, for example, there would have been no censorship, no deletion of your website, no shadow banning, no agent infiltration, no agent attacks, nothing, because the cabal would not care at all. They do care, clearly, because the information is accurate and describes their coming social credit system.
I agree completely. Not to mention countless confirmations of your intel, but I still have people write me who deny it and say Trump is going to fix things. You just can't reach some people. You can't. Now, we're going to take a break. I think we covered everything pretty thoroughly here. Unless you had anything else to add for this section of the intel drop.
I do not. There is more, but I will reserve those details for our team.
Okay, Michael will need to add our conversation from last night about Epstein to this intel drop. It was very interesting. So we'll talk offline about a few things. Part 2, Trump and the Epstein list. I asked if you could take your time out for an urgent conversation on current events, so thank you.
Not a problem.
If we can speak longer, I'll get into some other things, but first I wanted to get your take on the Epstein situation.
Certainly.
You have always been consistent on where Trump and these gatekeepers really stand. In 2022, you said both Trump and Alex Jones were compromised. That's all verified they are. Last November, when everyone was certain Trump would do something on the Epstein files, you said nothing would happen, and so far it hasn't. Yet another confirmation of your intel.
The whistleblowers were key in that because of their access to Obsidian, they can see who works for the cabal within the application itself, so that has helped guide us.
I see a lot of people coming out against Trump, burning their MAGA hats, really pushing against his recent comments, asking people to forget about Epstein and blaming it all on some Democrat hoax, which is ridiculous. So there's a real pushback here.
As there should be.
You said the cabal may be ready to move on from Trump in Intel Drop 64. Do you still see that?
I do, but not yet.
I'm talking a lot here, just trying to put everything in context, but I want to let you take over here. Give us your assessment of all of this.
Okay, what I will say here is a mixture of my own observations and a bit of inside knowledge.
Sounds good.
We are seeing a very unusual and remarkable situation unfold. It is my belief we are in the beginning of a major exposure, one the cabal has ultimately signed off on and is going to allow. But we have a long way to go to that point. Let me explain a little better. Epstein was a Mossad operative who blackmailed US politicians and many other people. He was protected by Israeli and US intelligence for years, which are one in the same, by the way. Hundreds upon hundreds of high-profile figures are compromised with videos and photos taken of them engaging in sexual acts with minors, and in some cases, far worse crimes against children. This occurred on his island and many other places. The people lured into these situations at first believed Epstein was simply a high-profile figure with access to underage women. They trusted him. Later, they would be taken aside, told evidence was obtained against them, and they would be told they need to act in a certain way. In most cases, they were told they needed to take orders essentially from Mossad and Israel. All of them complied. After all, blackmail is a powerful motivator, and they did not want to lose everything and end up in prison. Now, all of this took place before the cabal instituted the hierarchy we see in Obsidian, with sovereign status. It is an older operation, and today very different methods are used. What is key, though, is that it all links back to Israel. It is my belief the cabal is going to allow Israel to be destroyed at some point, which I have said, but we are not there yet. This story may be part of that destruction. The cabal is allowing this story to permeate the zeitgeist and allowing people to continue to think about it, talk about it. Musk is playing that role, as he continues to talk about it himself. Trump is playing his role, as he appears to be engaging in a cover-up. This allows the topic to never leave the headlines.
Incredible. It just seems like if this is exposed, so many people would go down. I can't believe the cabal would allow that.
Well, let me put it to you this way. If the cabal wanted people to not talk about the Epstein story, they would not talk about it. The cabal would do a couple of things, if that were the case. First, they may actually indict, prosecute, and imprison a few sacrificial lambs, a few politicians they are willing to get rid of. There would be a show trial or two. A more convincing list would be released. Trump would be championed as following through on his promises. It would look resolved. Or they would simply completely censor it and order their gatekeepers to stop talking about it. Trump would have ignored it on the campaign trail instead of talking about it, and his administration would completely dismiss and ignore it. That is all if the cabal wanted to handle the matter in a way that it is buried and pushed aside. Now, what happened instead of that? A PR stunt took place in February in which old public files were repackaged and released, something that looked staged from the start. This led to Patel and Bongino being questioned and appearing disingenuous, if not outright lying, and completely going against their prior public statements demanding the release of the Epstein list. As the director and deputy director of the FBI, respectively, it was also odd they were appearing on so many podcasts. It is even stranger, or not, that these same individuals were so prevalent on podcasts before being appointed to these high-level positions, where they already had well-documented statements relating to their demands and desire to see the Epstein list exposed. That is all quite incredible, in fact, but not necessarily by accident. Then Musk declared Trump was in the files, and now Trump has made a series of very poorly thought-out deflections and misdirections, suggesting the Epstein list is a Democrat hoax and should be ignored. The cabal would never allow any of this to happen if they did not want it to happen. Something bigger is in the works. Trump is either following a script or being allowed to trip himself up, because what he is saying now strategically backs him into a corner where he has placed blame on the Democrats and declared much of it a hoax, which is simply untrue, and most people know that.
Is Trump actually in the files? He seems nervous, like he wants this to go away.
I will answer that in a moment. First, yes, he seems nervous. When Trump interjected in that meeting, it was a very telling moment. The question was also interesting. Asked by the reporter, they asked if Epstein worked for foreign intelligence, and then Trump interrupted and tried to distract from the question. Well, of course Epstein worked for Israel. That is a charged question. People in Trump circles do not want it discussed. There are many Trump administration individuals who would not want everything about Epstein exposed, and many are pressured by Israel not to allow it to be exposed. It is possible, if not entirely likely, that Trump is being pressured by Israel not to allow it to be exposed. While Trump is a high-level Kabbalist, he is not nearly high enough in the hierarchy to know the full picture. As to whether he is in the files, I have no direct knowledge. It is not believed he ever went to the island, but his association with Epstein is so extensive, it is inconceivable he would not have had some kind of involvement in certain improprieties, or at least extensive knowledge of Epstein's crimes for years. I tend to see Trump acting more as a cabal gatekeeper of the Epstein situation, protecting people, guiding investigations, taking orders from Israel, possibly even being involved in faking Epstein's death and helping him escape. And finally, probably motivated by a desire to cover up his own crimes. Also, remember that Howard Lutnick is Trump's Commerce Secretary and Epstein's former neighbor, very closely linked with Les Wexner and is a high-level Kabbalist. Lutnick is possibly Trump's handler. Not only that, many people around Trump are all closely linked to Epstein. My best guess right now is the cabal is allowing Trump to proverbially tie a noose around his neck, as he is pressured to misdirect on this, confuse, confabulate, and deceive his followers. Yes, there is a cover-up. It also does not appear to be working, though it is working on some people. The Trump fans so die hard, they will not give up the ghost easily. In short and in conclusion, this bungled handling of the issue by Trump, Bondi, and Patel is being allowed by the cabal, if not slightly orchestrated by the cabal. Though the players and actors in the Trump administration themselves may not be fully aware it is being allowed, or they are possibly being used for a greater agenda. I can see Elon's America Party carrying the torch later on and taking the place of Trumpism, a false light movement rooted in technocracy that deceives even more people than the MAGA movement.
That's an incredible take on all this, something I've never heard before. To suggest it's being allowed, but Trump and his administration might end up getting thrown under the bus. Very interesting. Are you certain of this? Because to me it looks like a cover-up, maybe a sloppy one, but I just don't see the cabal wanting the truth out.
Am I certain of my assessment? It is where I stand now. If new information comes along, I will adjust for that. The situation is very fluid, but I would remind everyone, if the cabal truly did not want this discussed, it would not be talked about to the extent it is, because this is in the mainstream news every day now. There are various tiers and hierarchies to the cabal, and Epstein, Trump, and Israel are not at the top, not by any measure. They exist probably somewhere in the middle of the hierarchy, and some of those individuals are not fully aware of where they stand, and some probably believe they are at the top. This also occurs within Freemasonry. I have also spoken in the past that only a few high-level rabbis actually know the true hierarchy, and of those, some have said Israel's destruction and the deaths of a certain number of Jews is part of their end-times prophecy. While it is true that Jews and Israel have a disproportionate foothold of power in the world, and while they are very important actors on the world stage and have been key in committing atrocious wars and crimes, eroding personal liberties, and implementing Agenda 2030, they are not at the top of the hierarchy, while many of them actually believe that they are. The cabal allows this by design.
Fascinating. A lot of the gatekeepers seem flat-footed and scrambling to make sense of all this, like Alex Jones and Scott Adams making silly arguments to defend Trump. A lot of them are in a tough spot because they're Trump-defending Kabbalists who cover for Israel, but they're going to lose credibility if they keep covering for him. It's wild watching it play out. They're squirming.
Yes, the gatekeepers are in a position they were not expecting, I do not believe. And now the AI is adjusting and issuing new talking points. At least one segment of the gatekeepers will persist that Trump is using 5D chess, and I expect the Democrats are to blame narrative to expand and become more complex moving forward, as a distraction. There is a cover-up, but the cabal is allowing that cover-up to be seen.
Virginia Giuffre, an Epstein victim, who was first recruited when she worked at Mar-a-Lago by Ghislane Maxwell, which links her to Trump's actual home in Florida, she committed suicide, or they say. To me, that's tragic and frightening. Of course, Trump has nothing to say about her, no words about her passing, no acknowledgement at all. In any case, are they cleaning up loose ends on this?
They are. Some of the women, the victims, their lives are in danger. While at the highest levels I do believe the cabal is going to allow this to be exposed and allow Israel to be destroyed, lower-level Kabbalists within Israeli and American institutions will act out of self-preservation and do anything to save themselves. Many people are in danger right now, the victims and even the perpetrators.
Will anyone guilty actually be arrested at any point?
No, not in the present time.
How is the cabal going to distract people from this? It's all Americans are talking about now.
I do not believe they intend to. If they do, some kind of false flag will happen or the Israel conflict will flare up. But I tend to believe the cabal sees all political happenings as opportunities, even if on the surface these things may look as though truth is being exposed. For example, the COVID shots were eventually exposed as deadly poisons, quite widely exposed, in fact. But does the cabal care? No, they already put the nano dust in the food supply. You see, the cabal's AI is extremely adept and powerful. Its only weakness is it relies on humans to carry out its directives. By 2030 and beyond, it will not have to.
What do you mean?
They are creating cybernetic humans, half machine, half human. While this sounds like science fiction, it is not. There is also something I learned about the Nano-Tech, something quite disturbing.
What is that?
I will have to choose my words carefully, as this could get this Intel drop censored.
Of course. Go on.
The Nano-Tech can do more than we previously thought. It can do more within the body. It can build things within the body. Now, refer to my previous comments about cybernetic humans. That is all I will say, except to say, I fear for those who will not have access to the antidote. I deeply fear for them.
Now, the cabal has the antidote. They don't want the nanodust affecting them, right? They don't want to become cybernetic, even though they all praise transhumanism. I thought they wanted to meld with machines.
No, we expect there will be technology upgrades the cabal will use, but they will be removable implants and optional. The cabal does not want the nano dust in them or affecting them once the activation occurs. The nano dust can serve to take over the body and soul. The cabal wants to be pure and sovereign.
All right, just quickly back to Epstein before I forget. Ghislane Maxwell is in prison for sex trafficking, which, according to Trump now, it's all just a Democrat hoax. So, that's confusing. By his own logic, she would be innocent. Will he pardon her?
That is more possible than I think most people would imagine. I think that would be a desperate move, but it may be done so she will agree to stay quiet. There is probably a consideration that killing her, probably with a fake death like with Epstein, would raise too many eyebrows and would look very suspicious, so a pardon fixes the problem. If her appeal fails and she is not granted a pardon, she will probably write a book or give more honest interviews. The Trump people do not want that. She has played nice since her imprisonment with the hope she can get out.
There's reports she wants to go before Congress and tell her story. Would she tell the truth?
No. She will tell a version of it that gets her out of prison or prompts a possible pardon. If she names Trump or Republicans, I would be shocked, because it would certainly doom her.
Epstein had a fake death and they moved him out. He's alive and well. Does he want to help Ghislane Maxwell?
There may be an arrangement at hand. Look for a pardon or something to happen in her case. I would be shocked if she spent the rest of her life in prison, and yes, I suspect he would like to help her. Epstein spent some time in prison and she has. The cabal may have an agreement with them to take the fall but later be rewarded. And certainly, the cabal will reward them in the next life for their evil deeds.
All right, we'll move on here. Incredible discussion, so I may come back to it. I see Bitcoin's going way up, and you said in February that people should purchase Bitcoin and that it would surge, but then there would be a collapse. What do you think is going on now?
Bitcoin is the main conduit for the cabal's USDR acquisition, so it is going up because billions of fiat dollars are being poured into it. The cabal's singular focus is USDR acquisition and moving fiat into Obsidian. Everything I learn from my sources and from the whistleblowers indicates it is almost a feeding frenzy to get more USDR before the acquisition period ends. Bitcoin itself is immaterial to all of this, as Bitcoin has nothing to do with the future digital currency, and it is so old and slow it could never function in that capacity to begin with. But it does serve as an excellent vehicle for moving fiat into USDR. The cabal does not like doing bank transfers to gain USDR because it is far more noticeable, traceable, and trackable. It is something that could accidentally make it into the mainstream news, so they avoided that possibility entirely by using Bitcoin instead. What is interesting, and this may tie into the Epstein debacle, is I am hearing rumors of some cabal sovereigns either potentially losing their status, losing favor with the cabal, or making mistakes in their lust to gain more USDR. They are not following protocols, they are breaking some rules, they are essentially acting in all-out greed. The cabal is very structured and adheres to strict rules, so that kind of unfettered greed is not tolerated. Now, I should preface all of that by saying the Cabal is, by its nature, greedy in a sense. They value money, power, and gaining it, acquiring it. But they do it methodically, carefully, and they do not tolerate those lower within the hierarchy in attempting to gain a foothold that is not authorized.
Fascinating. What would be an example of a Kabbalist acting out of turn?
I know of a Cabal member at a major crypto exchange who overstepped and stole customer funds in a manner that was not authorized. That Cabal member was eliminated for this. That is an example. Yes, the Cabal steals, creates scams like Trump with his bogus Trump coin and so on, but these are authorized actions. There is also a case of a Cabal member trying to steal fiat from another very wealthy Cabal member. The Cabal learned of this and dealt with the matter. I believe in a very early Intel drop, another story like this came up.
Yes, I remember. I'll have to find it. A Kabbalist in Los Angeles did something to upset the Cabal.
That is right.
Is our team safe from this?
Yes. I have never seen anything that any team member has done that would be cause for concern in this respect.
Why the feeding frenzy?
Because all of these Kabbalists know what is coming. They know fiat will crash and be eliminated. They do not want to be left with a lot of fiat because it will go to zero. It will be worthless. Not only that, they want to gain more fiat and move it into USDR, convert it to USDR. The Cabal has arranged for USDR's intrinsic value to be based on the previous period or epoch of fiat dominance over the world. It is interesting how they are doing this. I do not agree with it, but it is fascinating, even clever.
What about the spiritual aspects of this? How USDR will carry on to the next life?
It is of supreme importance to the Cabal. I think it should be for us as well.
Okay, I have some questions about a lot more deeper subjects. Can you still speak for much longer? And can we take a little break?
I need to go, but I can speak a little bit longer. Yes, and if you need a break, that is fine.
I just need a moment to pull up a list of topics here. 1 second.
Of course.
Now, this is going to go in a totally new direction. I've been doing some research on the nature of reality, the afterlife, the moon, and so on, so I want to ask about those things.
Proceed.
We've talked about the afterlife, this other plane beyond us. After death, there's another world, like Earth, where souls exist, where the Cabal exerts total control. Please explain that more.
Unfortunately, we live in a prison within a prison. God has allowed this because of man's sin and man's rejection of righteousness, and the Cabal has argued successfully that they control Earth. God has allowed it. God has also allowed for a realm to exist after death that is similar to this realm, where there is a world, like Earth, that actually overlays this Earth. We cannot see it, feel it, know it is there until death. They call it the astral plane. This is where we all go. It is a dystopian world with far more control and less freedom than here. The Cabal created a net to trap our souls, so we cannot escape easily. We can call upon God, we can demand release, we can ask for Jesus, we can do all of that. But there is some doubt now about how the Nano-Tech will affect us, and how our own sin, our own acceptance of the Cabal's evil, will compromise us after death. The Cabal continues to argue that we have made a choice, and God cannot just intervene if we ask. We cannot get out that easily. This is what I have been told by my guide. Of course, the Cabal cannot tell God what to do or control God at all, but God must respect the free will of man, the choices we make, the things we allow, the evil we allow to happen without taking any action. And the Cabal knows this. The Cabal only exists because God allows them to exist and allows us to make choices. I am getting into very deep spiritual topics here. We may want to reserve this for a Cosmic Rules Are About to Change entry. I want to preface that I am not preaching this as gospel truth. I still believe in salvation, and I am a Christian. But things are not what they seem, and most people are not spiritually prepared at all for what is going on now or what is to come. The situation is dire, and the Christian church, particularly American Protestant churches, they are utterly corrupted and led by deceived pastors. The Catholic Church is also corrupted and infiltrated with Kabbalists entirely. The Epstein case alone is insight into the depths of evil of these people. They are truly evil. There are crimes far, far worse even than those committed by Epstein, crimes against children beyond imagination. The Cabal is more evil than you can conceive of or imagine. I know people think that, but I do not think they truly know how evil the Cabal is. Everything they are doing with Obsidian, this social credit, it is evil, and by 2030 and beyond, the evil will be fully manifest as mankind accepts the Cabal's AI. You can even argue the AI is the Antichrist, though I make no claim of that.
You told me we need to stay off these topics and focus on our mission, but don't you think knowing these things will help us in our mission?
Yes, I do. You may have misinterpreted me. Our mission is to stop Obsidian, and I believe we will, but I am very concerned because our team is small. We need more people in more key areas. There is no reason our team should not be 500 or 1,000 strong, but we are not close to that. So while I believe we will be safe and protected as sovereigns, I do not know if we can truly stop this or not with a team as small as ours. My guide is warning me too. We are up against incredible odds, and she is disappointed too.
It frustrates the hell out of me, all this censorship, shadow banning. I'm seeing just random Twitter accounts out of the blue getting thousands of likes. How? Meanwhile, my Twitter is really being suppressed. We can prove it. Over time, my tweets are being shadow banned. They used to reach far more people a year or two ago. I can see in the stats the constant decline, even though my followers slowly go up. That makes no sense, so it's shadow banning for certain. We can't break through and reach people, and few people are helping us at this point. No one seems to really care about what's coming. It's like people have given up, or they're just distracted with Trump.
That is where we stand. The cabal has distracted people from the issue of CBDC over the past few years, while we actually accelerate towards it. Once it is online and activated, and that day is coming, it will be far too late for anyone to stop it or escape. That is when our team will need to take action, and we will.
You told me our next Intel drop will be part 7 of our Cosmic Rules Are About to Change series, so I look forward to that.
I do as well.
This has been a great discussion, but you said you need to go, so I'll let you go. We'll speak again soon.
We will. God bless, and to all listening, God bless.
If you benefit from these audio renditions of the Gideon Intel drops, please like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to visit cbdcintel.org. Thanks.